Well, great to see everyone. Thank you for joining. And thank you, Yulia, for inviting me. I discovered Yulia also by Googling basically tech community in Hudson Valley because I was in the process of moving here in the summer. And I figured if I'm going to be, well, relatively far away from the city, I need to find kind of my tribe. And so that's how we met. And so, yeah, great to be here. So I wanted to talk today about localization industry, as majority of my career has been spent in localization, but I'll kind of talk a little bit about where I am now. So here's a little bit about me. I do not have a technical background. I actually majored in Romance languages and literatures. I did not know what I was going to do with that, probably teach, but ended up in finance and actually have an MBA in finance, which is now outdated because it's from 2 decades ago. But I did work in finance in my early days. I would say 5.5 to 6 years after graduating. But what ended up happening is financial crisis. I was part of Lehman Brothers team that got sort of cut in the midst of Barclays acquisition, and I wasn't doing much. Kind of when I lost my job, I was thinking, what is it that I want to do? And I stumbled upon a job ad on Craigslist. Back in the day, everybody was using Craigslist that was asking for a translation project manager to come and interview for that role. And I did not know what it was, but I went, and that's how I landed in the localization field. And I was there for a very, very long time until kind of the last 2.5 years where I transitioned working for a Dataminr. And I can talk a little bit about that. But I am very active in the localization industry still. I've been a member at Women in Localization for over a decade. I've been volunteering for the last 5 years or so. And as of this year, I'm a head of our New York chapter. And also since 2024, I'm a member of advisory board of Language Connects Foundation, which is dedicated to supporting language educators. Also, I am a mom of a 6-year-old, and ever since becoming a parent and identifying kind of uh, issues that working parents, working mom in particular, come across, and kind of trying to manage your own work-life balance, I became a parent advocate. So I actually founded Parent Employer Resource Group in my previous organization, and I also now lead Parents Employer Resource Group at Dataminr. We do a lot of events around kids, virtual and in person. So yeah, I just put a couple of logos in terms of where my career has sort of been. But yeah, I am a data miner now. I heard that there are a couple of data science graduates on this call, so I don't know if I can answer any questions, but I can talk about kind of what the company does. We do hire a lot of data scientists. Um, so yeah, in terms of what we're going to talk about, a little bit about the industry and kind of what the possibilities are within localization. Just like I think every single sector within tech, localization is going through transformation right now. So there are some ups and downs in the recent years, but it's definitely an exciting field to be a part of. So yeah, as you get started in your career or you're transitioning, kind of making the lateral moves that Yule was talking about, it's good to have a roadmap. So what is localization if we think about this field? It is essentially part of this umbrella, if you will, under the umbrella of these fields. And whenever people talk about globalization, internationalization, localization, or translation, it's all about international expansion if you think about it, right? So we can say, umbrella term, if you want to expand your business, if you want to sell your product internationally, that's where you go. And that's the field with a lot of acronyms too. So you see how I'm using G11N for global. It's crazy. We're into acronyms a lot. So when somebody mentions globalization, typically that's your initial strategy of entering into a global space, right? If a company decides that they want to open an office in London and thinking about kind of the legal side of things, paying somebody in a local currency, hiring somebody to operate an office and hire people, that would fall under globalization umbrella. Internationalization is essentially about designing and developing a product, whether it's a physical product or it's a piece of software, to ensure that the content and the product itself is ready for localization. So internationalization typically is part of like when you create a code, you would make sure that it's internationalization ready, or and then like if you create a shampoo bottle, you make sure that its shape is not offensive in a particular culture. So that's kind of what internationalization is about. Localization is a process of adapting your product or service to meet the needs of a particular locale. And the easiest way to think like what falls under localization is, again, if in a particular culture, women's hair is supposed to be covered, right? You're not gonna get imagery onto your landing page of your website that has women with hair uncovered or shows alcohol, right? Or another area that falls under localization, we talk about shopping carts, right? For e-commerce websites, you want to be able, when you're buying from a country that does not use US dollars, you want to be able to pay in your local currency. So you localize that currency area within the shopping cart. And then translation is kind of, I think, the most common reference. Everybody, when they think about international expansion, say, "What do you do to translate?" So yes, this is converting your text or the voice content into another language. But again, translation is just part of kind of this larger ecosystem. Localization is a $55 billion industry with an average 5% year-over-year growth. So it has been growing. And later I'm going to talk about some of the behemoth companies in the industry. So yeah, definitely in the recent years, also very, very AI forward, AI focused. So in terms of ecosystem, what are we talking about? Like who are kind of the players? So on the right side, you see, language service buyers, language service providers, and language tech providers. And on the left, you kind of see different organizations where one can volunteer or become a researcher for. If you think about language service buyers, that's any company, like any Fortune 500 brand you can think of is going to likely be a buyer of language services. Any major hospital system, right? You need an interpreter, or you need a translator or interpreter on site or via the phone, or you need a translator to translate prescriptions and whatnot. Netflix, huge buyer, as you know, dubbing services. Your brands that are very, very present globally, such as, McDonald's or others. Platforms, Shopify is a good example because it is a platform that powers e-commerce platforms, and e-commerce sites are usually huge localization buyers, but Shopify itself is a localization services buyer. And then your FANGs, right? So major tech companies are all buyers of the services. And then you have what we call LSPs, language service providers. So those are agencies, if you will, translation agencies is a simpler term, that work with those buyers and kind of give them what they're looking for. And if I were to think about kind of the world of LSPs, we have these super agencies, TransPerfect, RWS, huge Linebridge, huge companies. They crossed over $500 million revenue years ago. They're in the billions. Linebridge used to be a public company. I think they're no longer. They went through shares built out, but I used to work for translations.com, which is a technology division of TransPerfect. TransPerfect is now probably triple in size from the years that I was there. So crazy, crazy growth, super agencies. A lot of folks in the industry kind of start there because it's a great school, if you will. Like they school you on like how to actually manage the localization process end to end. Then you have your mid-size LSPs. A lot of them have presence in New York and in the area. Aclaro, I think, is based in Westchester County. Argos is in New York City. They're sort of your mid-size LSPs. And then there are definitely a lot of small translation agencies that are, kind of few million in revenue, maybe even run by one person. Sometimes a linguist just incorporates and says, like, I'm going to be an agency. And I know quite a few of those. And they're really focused on just providing kind of translation, and oftentimes they pick a client within a particular industry. Say somebody only does legal translation or somebody only does tech. And then there's another sort of group of players, and that's probably the last 2 decades very active group. It's the language tech providers. So again, if I were to split them into categories, one category is those that are focused exclusively on computer-assisted translation development. What is a computer-assisted translation tool? It's a tool for a translator, right? To help them translate more efficiently, faster, to be able to save translations into translation memory, make sure that they are sort of speeding up their process over time if they're translating similar content. Usually, computer assisted translation tools provide glossary management as well. And a company like SDL, for example, their platform called Trados. This is the most known computer assisted translation tool globally. I think most LSPs have it or onboarded it. They were very heavy in their marketing 15, 20 years ago. So they were like first to the market. There's also MemoQ. MemoQ works a lot with educational institutions. I know that Middlebury Institute for International Studies uses them to train their students on a CAT tool. So that's an interesting category, still growing, but not as much as the other two. So the other two, web and app localization providers. So those are the companies that entered the market as basically saying like, why go through the LSP buyer, right? Like, I'm going to give you a tool and you just hire a project manager. Here's a tool and they can use the tool to localize. And, if it's the website or app or any other software product. So Motion Point, localized with an S. This is a pretty known company now in the market. They started as an app localization platform. And also, again, we're very, very heavily marketing in the US. And there are a few others. And then there are those that went even further and said, well, beyond that, I'm just going to cover the end-to-end process for you, buyer, and I'm going to give you what's called the TMS, Translation Management System, where you're going to have a full integration of computer-assisted translation tool, a bench of linguists. So don't go out and hire your own translators. Here's a whole roster. You want Darya to be a translator, click here. And also they are incorporating large language models, because again, when you think about what CAT tool is and translation memories, you have a lot of those kind of strings and you have a lot of content that your client translates that you can train your models on. So good kind of and no very well known players, SmartLink, Phrase, Lilt, very kind of well-funded companies doing very well. There are definitely others, but they are the ones basically who are sort of taking this industry over right now as like end-to-end providers. In terms of where you can kind of volunteer in the industry, Women in Localization, I mentioned there's another organization called Lock Lunch, which is global, and it's just to bring it's very similar, I guess, to Yulia's idea of bringing people together virtually. They bring people together to eat and have drinks. I've attended a few of those, always fun. Then you have Gala, I think it's Globalization Association for Language something, and then Translation Without Borders, which is very known. The industry also has a few known research firms. I would say Common Sense Advisory, not as well, it's known across other industries, but Nimidzi and Slater are sort of exclusive to the field. Slater even has it, so that runs its own annual event. So they do a lot of analysis of what's happening in the industry. So a lot of the information here is is like very cross-verified with them. They're very known. These are current world top LSPs, language service providers. Again, if you think about, I don't know, a large tech company like Apple, they are likely to work with one of these. They're not going to work with your one person, a mid-size LSP, because of just the sheer amount of content. So they will. I believe they are actually Landbridge's client, but I may be wrong. They may have switched. All major airlines, I think, work with TransPerfect. So there are these niches, but yeah, when you start working for these, you'll see such awesome client portfolios. Now, what can a graduate do in this industry, or if you're trying to transition to this industry, like what are the roles, right? What are the options? So within language service providers and language tech providers, you have roles such as project manager, you have in-house linguist, interpreters, internalization engineer. I'm seeing more and more, not just a software engineer, but internationalization or localization engineer. And typically it is somebody who knows one of these platforms, one of these providers. So they expect kind of this knowledge to be there to help client with integration. Solutions engineer also falls under this umbrella. So like I said, I'm seeing more and more roles. Obviously, sales and marketing departments are pretty heavy in those organizations because again, they're kind of on the vendor side. They're trying to sell the technology and sell the services. Um, Vendor manager, fairly common role as well. Quality assurance, that's a very interesting one because again, when you're when you're localizing, you always want to make sure that your product functions in the language. So everything, because yes, language incorrect strings can totally break your software. So yeah, quality assurance manager is very common, and there is definitely a lot of growth, lots of roles I'm seeing popping up within those orgs. But obviously, language tech service providers typically have, your chief technology officer, your CEO, your chief product officer, and chief AI officer becoming very, very common, or VP of AI these days. On the buyer side, so that's any organization, often buyers do hire folks to sort of manage the localization process. So you either, again, have your own in-house linguist team that sort of acts as a quality assurance department. You have either a project manager, or localization manager, or localization program manager. Those are kind of common roles. And then if you are a huge tech company like Microsoft or Apple, where you can potentially have multiple vendors, you do need a vendor manager to sort of manage those relationships. On the buyer side, it's very rare to see super senior roles in this industry, unfortunately. So, for example, I was a global director of language services at AlphaSites, and that's kind of like the top, like director as far as you go, unfortunately. And then within research firms, again, kind of you have your research roles, your writers and consultants. And in terms of volunteering, again, volunteering for women in localization, you can either be a mentor for graduates for the translation localization programs, or you can become, you can enter kind of chapter leadership. Like if there is a chapter in your area, you can volunteer for the chapter. Lock Lunch has ambassadors. You can get onto the board of Gala. There are lots of conferences, there are lots of events in the industry. I think there's a pretty event heavy industry. American Translators Association runs events. Lock World happens annually. SlaterCon is another event. And they are always looking for speakers. So that's an opportunity. And then Translators Without Borders is always looking for linguists to sort of trying to crowdsource and get translations done for free. In terms of where to learn, I think that's, a very, very known kind of all these resources, lots of jobs on Indeed. Women in Localization has its own job board. I actually did not mention here, I think there is now within LinkedIn, there is like a job board specific to localization as well that one can utilize. Localization recruiters are a bit more rare. There used to be a company called Adaptive Globalization. They're not super active now, but they had like a group of recruiters that were focused on professionals for the industry. Definitely recommend attending one of these events. There are a lot of free events, like I said, within the industry, virtual, lots of the LSPs and language tech companies, they often just like do free webinars. So like SmartLink does a lot of those with their head of product. Lingoport is another company I've seen, they've been doing free webinars. So just kind of hopping onto one of those to see what folks are talking about, and what the latest and greatest developments are in the industry. Lots of newsletters. Multilingual is a magazine. I actually have it here. Here you go. I have my multilingual November issue right here, that I just got. So multilingual, you can sign up for free online version, or you can subscribe to the paper one if you like to actually read the physical magazine. Then you have your kind of Nimidzi newsletter. Slater also has a podcast. And then, yeah, you can join one of these organizations for a mentor. If you are looking to enter the industry, definitely talk to someone who's been in the industry. And there are lots of, I'm going to get to the resources. There are lots of great industry professionals that if you look at their career track, you'd be amazed where they were and where they are now. So lots of great mentors. Yeah, so here's a free resources. I linked Globalization Strategy Handbook. It's free. One of the co-authors, Carrie Livermore Fisher, she heads localization at Subway. She actually gave me some tips about these slides, so I linked this as a nod to her. This is an interesting kind of resource to look through to understand kind of how localizers are essentially telling the buyers, like, here's a strategy, like, here's some free resource, go and do it. And then people ignore it and do things differently. Like I said, lots of free podcasts. SmartLink has their own. I think CPO runs it, and then Slater Pod is a good one. Um, in terms of books, truly global. Anna Schlegel was a co-founder of Women in Localization, so she wrote this great book, Found in Translation, Brand Global, Adapt Local. That's both by Natalie Kelly. Natalie Kelly is one of those, like I said, if you look at her career track, she is the most wanted speaker in the industry. So she was an interpreter at Language Line. She speaks Spanish. So from interpreter, she's now chief marketing officer at Zappi. And yeah, she was a chief marketing officer at HubSpot prior to that. So very, very interesting individual, decades in the industry, wrote books, is an expert. So I highly recommend in any event where she speaks, definitely. She was at the most recent Lock World, and she's invited to pretty much everything at this point. And then there's me. And yeah, if you want to connect, definitely connect. If you want to join Women in Localization New York page for upcoming events, we do publish there. And then I just plugged in my Language Connects Foundation. But again, this is another, like, especially if you're interested in or you're raising a bilingual child or interested in language education, that's another great organization to be a part of. Um, I felt like I ran through it very fast, but maybe not. Let me know if I have time to take questions. But yeah, happy to take questions.
Yes, you were very fast, like Mika is, but that's what you have in common. If I would be matchmaker, I would say you two have to talk. Anyway, I have a question, and then I will let others ask questions. My question is, do you know what Google is using for localization? Because Google Translate is big.
Okay. So it's interesting.
Maybe you
Google,
don't. It's okay.
as far as I know, don't quote me on it because this is 2, 3 years ago data, so it may have changed. So they used to have their own, so they had a localization program head who built their own translation management system. He invested in it,
Mhm.
which from what I heard did not work very well because what he wanted to do, he wanted to build one's own for Google and said, okay, we're going to bring our own linguist. It didn't work very well. And what they started doing, they started sending out RFPs, but they wanted kind of a collection of smaller providers. And especially for like marketing, and like when they have feature campaigns, like they release a new feature and they want to do a multilingual campaign. So as of 3 years ago, one of the providers was called Jellyfish, and it's actually a marketing firm, and I was very surprised. But that's kind of one side, that this translation service business, I think it covers like one side. I don't know who they're using to localize the actual kind of a browser or any sort of anything else besides kind of those marketing stuff. And again, they may not be, I don't know if they still work with Jellyfish. Um, I believe, like I said, Apple works with Lionbridge, at least again as of 3 years ago. And yeah, they're definitely, they're picking bigger players. Most of the fangs are picking bigger players in the industry because they can just get such good packages much cheaper than going with a smaller player. So
Understood. And given the fact that Google is pretty much natural language processor creator or all these machine learning things, they have to be one of the best in localization, all kind of. I would assume they would invest heavily in this, and I know these big tech usually failed to have something in-house.
yeah, which is, it's very strange that the program manager would even go that route. When I found out, I was very surprised that he was trying to build the team, and then they decided like to move away from it. So they invested all this money, build it, and then somehow it didn't work, or they used it for a year and they said, oh, forget it. I'm like, okay, that's very strange because you would based on the level of maturity of Google at the time, I was like, by then you know that that there are companies that like do it way better. Like you can find a vendor that will just do whatever you want because they want Google on their roster. They want Google as a client. So,
Sorry, we didn't want to focus on Google. It was
oh,
more just out of my curiosity, but thank you, Daria. It was awesome presentation, and I see comments saying exactly this. I am opening the floor for any questions if we have any questions.
Sorry, I didn't raise my hand. So I just want to say I don't have questions, but I never knew about this area. So for me, it was a lot of like information. So I'm just like, I listened and I mean, I need to like process it, but I think it was pretty helpful because I never knew about this area. So thank you. Yeah.
Exactly.
thank you.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh,
Satya,
really?
you're,
That's interesting.
yeah, Satya, read it out loud. We want to hear your beautiful voice.
I just wanted to say, like, one of the sessions that I was invited to for a Get Certified program, I think they were still using Jellyfish for that.
You
Okay,
see?
that's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. Not a lot of changes, I guess, in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, my message is here. You see, you can actually create a lot of career opportunities given the fact that you don't have any developer experience or just you bringing your unique experience to the field and you're saying what you have. And there is a niche, a niche, a niche. And I want you to think about this way. The ancient knowledge was like very united, very concentrated once upon a time, right? But then some spikes started to grow out of these and some specialties grew. And the more specialized people are, the more they are like insulated. And the more interdisciplinary opportunities are coming out. So I just want you to explore the opportunity about cross interdisciplinary, cross positing, and just the value of networking. Because when you hear and see people doing special things, it just open new opportunities for you as well. Saying that,
I was going to add something really quick,
sure.
Yulia, because also, I'm getting asked a lot by like folks that are either exiting localization or have been in the industry and they're like, where do I transition next?
Yep.
And because again, computer assisted translation tools have been using AI, machine translation has been around for decades. We are, I think, a very well equipped group to sort of enter the AI domain. Because like I now work for Dataminr, which is a real-time intelligence company, and I don't work like we don't have a localization function. I work in operations. But when I joined and they were kind of telling me how things work on the back end and like, okay, we have this model. My boss then, like in a few weeks, he's like, you understood everything so quickly compared to anyone else we hired. And I was like, yeah, because your system make complete sense to me in terms of like how these alerts are like produced because they're so similar to some of the tooling that I've used in localization. So sometimes it's completely different field and like different industry, but you have a lot of you're understanding things much quicker because of your background.
Awesome. And one more conclusion or observation I shall share with everyone as follows. It's really worth to be active person. Run extra mile, go beyond. If you have any special needs, you yourself, right? Please assume there are other people with similar needs or special interests or point of interest. And that's why networking is so important. That's why matchmaking is the art, because you're not going straight for, hey, I'm junior developer, I need a job, period. No, you're more. You're more than that. You have your unique strength. You have the storytelling opportunities to tell what's special about you, why you're so good, why to hire you, or why to matchmake with you, why to network with you. You're definitely interesting person. So thank you, Neha, for doing really good job with your basic, very basic, I shall say, intro AI tool, which we are going to switch back again. Before we do that, I want to mention that Daria was very active as a parent. Once she got her small one. She was actually running extra mile and talking about this and finding similar-minded people in these fields, subfields, very small niche. She thought she is very small, but actually that's how she got recognized. Recognition is really important, and that's what helps to build your brand and to get the referrals. Interesting observation that Neha is leading women in what? In AI? Women in
Machine learning.
machine learning?
I'm not, I should not say I'm leading. I would say, I mean, and just call out here. So we also have, like, if anybody, I meant somebody mentioned that they are in New York. So I am not like somebody else started it. I'm just part of it. I'm on the leadership team. But so the name of the group is NYC Machine Learning and Data Science. So it's a pretty hands-on group. If you're interested in that area, and there are a lot of women who are like much smarter than me, who are actually core ML engineers, stats folks and all that, like, PhD statistics were like into it, like Julia, like PhD, like people like that. I am like person who thinks of an idea and trying to solve it. So I don't think so. I should say I'm a core AI ML person, but I'm using it to solve a problem, right? But then I'm just calling out, if you're interested in it, it's a very good group because like they had this LLM series, not because I'm part of it, but they had like pretty hands-on series recently. We did like two LLM, one was LLM, one was AI agent, and they have these events like in person at Brain Station, New York a lot of times. There's one I think coming, I think after this year they'll have more coming in. So if you're interested, definitely try to be part of the group. Ping me if you want to be part of that group. I'll get you added. Unfortunately, it's pretty good. They have a lot of meetups coming up. They have a chapter on LinkedIn as well. Sorry, Yulia, for making it using your time to,
No, it's fine.
And
It's
then
perfect.
and then I think coming to what Yulia and I think Daria also said, I think one thing which has at least helped me was like when you start, I think I'm sure people here, like when I like listen to everybody is like developing things and they're so smart, right? But I think as developers, I come from that background. I think what we forget also, and I think networking is part of it. It's just not like selling yourself is not the right word, but I think it's like telling people that you're good at it in a right way, I think is important. And I think that is what I've learned the hard way for my product as well. We built something like before this, like for the other one, we built something, we did so many features, and then we're like, okay, nobody knows about it. Like how do we even like make people aware about it? The other thing which I've learned, which I want to share. So I have another meetup group, AI networking lab where mine and Julia mentioned. I'll tell you the power of community. So I started it 2 months back. We have 2,000 plus people now. Like I got so much feedback from that group, and I just don't do much. I teach AI basic, what I use in that group, put a little bit of effort. So what I'm trying to say, the power of community exists and it can work in your favor. You just have to think, and it works both ways, right? It can help you and it can help other people as well. So I would just say try, like I mentioned, some people mentioned they're doing data science, like I think Satya, you, and then somebody else as well. And there's another person here who's in college, I think. So I would say just, I mean, sorry if I'm forgetting your name. But then I think my suggestion would be, which I learned very hard way, like in the last 1 year after I quit my job, was just not focus on developing. I'm sure you guys are doing that, but also like make sure people are aware of that you're so smart and you're doing these things. Like I'm sure you're doing data science, you guys, so you are smart, right? That's it.
Please, please, please put all the links in the chat.
Okay, I'll send it.
Yeah. Women in machine learning, women in localization, women in tech. Not only women, but the Google Developers Group. Actually, Neha, you wanted to learn more about GDG. So here you go. You see a few more Google Developer Groups leaders here. Hey guys, please lead or invite Neha. She actually wants to be part of GTG. She doesn't know how to start her own, so at least let her experience what Google developers are. We're not Googlers, right? We're not getting paid by that, but we are the community of those who are using usually open source.
Yeah,
So
I think Julia really sold me upon it, and I went and looked at it, and I was like, no way, I can handle this, but I definitely attend the event. So thank you. Shout out for that. Yeah.
Yep. I'm sharing my screen as the participant right now. I guess everyone has the same thing. And I will let Neha talk about this, teaching us what to do about this. I don't know. I can share another screen how it looks like from the organizer shows, but I
Yeah,
really don't know how to use it.
Yeah, I can show you the organizer one. I'll share my screen, but I think on this screen, the stage we are in right now. So as I said, it shows you, for example, in this particular, it obviously we are just showing a lot of matches. We should be showing lesser. But that being said, like as we as we test the algorithm, but apart from that, we have this option of like conversation starters. If you click on it, like for example, if you want to have a conversation with Aishwarya, right? The first one at the top,
I
or
don't know.
anybody, just click like any conversation starter, the button in the black. So this
Okay.
is something which helps me because you can't find it, which means that we have to make it
Uh,
better. Right. So I think this is more from a perspective a lot of times, like you met
mm,
somebody, right? But then you want to message on LinkedIn to them, and there's so much thinking about it, right? There's so much context thinking about it. Like, what should you say? And then you write 5 times. So I think this was the reason for doing this was like, okay, I've met you, and then I just copy it on LinkedIn with a little bit of thought process and just send it
yeah.
and make that connection. So that was the idea why we did that. That's around this.
Okay.
There's also an option here, apart from the top matches which we gave. I think there's also an option here. If you click on view details, there's a button below again. So these are all good things because like if you have to struggle with this means we have to design it better, right? There's an option here for LinkedIn's again, like when you meet people, you know why this person is here, what
Mm-hmm.
they're interested in, and then okay, this makes sense to you. Maybe I should connect with them on LinkedIn. So you click on LinkedIn, you use the view conversation option we gave you, and
So,
that's it. So you don't have to think so much about it, like when you're trying to make a connection. So that was a thought process. Again, we are not there yet. So yeah.
mhm.
And then I can share my screen, Julia, for a minute, if that's okay.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, um, yeah, so I think this is the organizer dashboard, Julia, right, which I shared. So for example, right now, as an organizer, we have to fix it, but still it tells you that how many people registered. And I'm sure such kind of tools exist for bigger conferences, but what we're trying to see, like, at a given point of time, how many people registered, what was the flow around it. But I think the important part is like, why are people coming here? So I can see we have to like fix it, but at least I can see at the top three, people want to like learn new things, discover new ideas and meet. And this is a smaller group. Imagine if you have 50 people and as an organizer, you have to find out what people are really interested in. Here you can see a lot of like, obviously that's a no-brainer. AI everywhere, but then still like the group is interested. It's a techie group interested in AI, then interested in networking. And then apart from that, if I go to live wall, again as an organizer, like, so what happens after the event has ended, we keep it open for few hours because the thought process was maybe some people couldn't attend, they can join it later on, and again we get some data out of it. Like that's a thought process right now. But then as an organizer, you get all these people, you can see who came to your event, right? What was the profile of your organizer like this is a better view instead of having the Excel email and that kind of a view, right? You can see from profile what people are interested in. As I said earlier, we're going to start tagging them depending upon how similar they are into groups and into maps. That's the next phase, not this tabular format. So yeah, I think that's about it. I'm going to stop sharing now. Yeah, that's it.
Neha, I
Beautiful.
have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Are you envisioning this as a standalone product, or is there a potential to integrate and essentially sell this as, like an API integration? Because we organize events with women in localization, and they integrated Eventful into like their main platform. We do not like it. And there are reasons why we do not like it. I mean, we deal with it,
Yeah.
but I'm just thinking like if you like next steps in your product,
Right.
are you thinking that standalone is the way, or trying to essentially sell some sort of a connector and go to these like nonprofits and larger orgs and say like, hey, you know,
No,
I
I
can
think
connect to your own platform?
I think that's such a good point. So we've thought about it. So there are two thought process we have right now, depending on how well we're able to do it. So then the first thought process was we'll do it as a plugin, right? But then the other thought process was why don't we do like end-to-end event thing, right? But then I think we overcomplicate that. Like in the initial phases, we don't want to do it, right? So the plugin is the way to go. But then the problem is like we have Luma and you have Partyful and all these other, they do the event part so much better, it's so much cleaner. So if we start doing that part, we lose this part. So I think you like coming back to what you said, I think it will be plugin, but then it's not going to be the way it's there right now. This is the initial MVP. I think it's what the way I envision it is that it should be more powerful. Like after this event, maybe Dara, for you, if this is a bigger conference, right? I should be able to give you notification that these are the three most important people like in the morning today that you should meet no matter what, right? And then after this thing, I should be able to tell you, okay, you met them, this is your game plan like for the next. So I think one of the things which we are struggling with is that normally networking is a thought which happens in people's thought, like, but I think it has to be more outcome driven. So that is something I think I'm learning with time. How do we do it? And I think that's something we would have, like, we're going to change our designs. There are few more, and then as I said, there's something known like through graphs which you want to use, not this format, which makes it more powerful, where you're able to identify your, the power of your connections. But again, that's much later in the phase. So yeah, that's about it.
Cool. I'm sharing my screen just to show how to use it. And I encourage everyone to go ahead and add
I
their profile if it's
Yeah.
interesting.
I think one request I have with for everybody, please give us feedback, and it can be as brutal as ever. Like, I don't take it personally at all. Just tell me, oh, this sucks. You can make this better. No, because I think that's better as a founder when you hear things. So my only request is, if you guys, you can give me, like, ping me on LinkedIn if we are connected. Otherwise, just let me know, or Yulia know the feedback, and I'll take it with open arms. I think that's about it. Yeah.
This is the best MVP test ever, which I can only think of, right?
Yeah. And Yulia, if it's okay, can I share my meetup link here as well? Are you okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Welcome. Please welcome. Sharing is caring. Okay.
Neha, I just wanted to ask one question.
Yeah.
I tried to join in and then I forgot to put in my LinkedIn profile in that, and I'm trying to edit it or I'm not able to do it. Where do I
Yes.
do it?
Yeah. So I think because we would, like, I think that is also something we are working. We are going to give a edit option, because right now it's like, if you join in, you have to go back. Like, there's an option like before you go live. So we have to give an edit profile option. It's not there yet. It's not,
Yeah.
like, we've not added that option. So that's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
But this is really clean and very nice interface with minimalistic approach. I really like it. So what did you guys use over here? Like, did you design everything or how did you come up?
Yeah, I
I'll
think
start.
you can make out that this is a very poor. No, I don't think so. That's a great design, because when developers design it, they just feel, oh, it should work faster, or it should. So we just designed it. We use AI tools. So there's a tool known as UX Pilot. I love it. I just love it. So if you guys haven't explored it, please do. If you're making something, it's the nicest AI UI design. So I didn't have the budget to hire a UI person, so yeah, I use that tool. It's an amazing tool. So see if you guys want to use it. It helps with designing a lot. Yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful. It's such a giving group. It's such a welcoming and such a warm crowd. I really appreciate each and everyone. Darya is sharing her slide deck. People are giving feedback. There is a screenshot from Yusuf song coming. He believes he sees the bug, but I believe UI UX things is like the secondary for Neha journey. For me, as a founder or the event organizer, I'm just wondering, can I see the social graph? Can I see action items? Can I have action items out of this? I believe it would be applicable for everyone, not only for me. What action items out of networking? Question to everyone, not only to Neha, okay? What do you want to see happen? Nobody? Thank you both, Darya and Neha, for presentations. Yes, this was awesome. But I really want everyone, it's homework, everyone. Go home and think, what do you want to get out of networking? You're here for networking, partially for new insights, for learning something. Go home and think, what do you want? When you see the word networking as a keyword, everybody knows they have to network. But what do you want to get out of this networking? Saying that, I don't have any more questions. If you do, please feel free to hang out here. I will stop my recording. How do I do that? Please give me.
I've shared two links.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, you can go on.
Okay, so I've shared two links. This is the Women in Machine Learning and Data Science NYC group. Unfortunately, I don't know why. We just have a group right now, like in the sense, like if you there's no like join. If you want to join, let me know, and I'll just send the person who adds you to this group. So that's the group, and then I think there's a one on link on the meetup for meetup as well. So that's more like you know. I think it's like non-tech coding people. So I'm sure pretty everybody here is like much level ahead. So yeah.
And I confirm it's really useful. Even if you're the professional coder, she always has something to add, like all we are. So happy to have all of you. Thank you for contributing. Your presence matter a lot.